All right, today we're going to work with compound, or sometimes you might hear them called composite shapes. Um, so all it means is a couple things put together, right? You might have two hemispheres and a cylinder. You might have a hemisphere and a rectangular prism. You might have a triangular prism and a rectangular prism. So just a couple, it could be a couple, could be more than one, more than two. Sorry, more than two, but a couple shapes put together. So all you do when you're finding volume or even surface area, but we're going to focus on volume today, is you do them separately and then add them up. So let's look at the bottom. So your volume, I'll do it over here. Your volume for the rectangular prism, remember your formula is big B times H, right? So area of the base is 16 times 4. 16 times 4. And then your height was 6. So you would do 16 times 4 times 6. And you get 384. So that's the volume of this rectangular prism down here. Now the triangular prism, so volume of your triangular prism, is still the same formula. It still has two bases. Your bases are the triangles. So you have area of the base times the height. Now, in this case, your base is a triangle, right? It's this front triangle is your base and that back triangle, because remember they have to be parallel and congruent. So don't just think base is bottom, because that bottom does not have parallel and congruent up here. So our base is a triangle. So remember, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So 1/2. My base is 12, so times 12. And my height is 9. So they wrote it right there. So that's the area of my base, the area of my triangle. Now height is the height of your prism. So it's the distance between your bases. So from the front triangle to the back triangle. Now notice I don't see anything here. All right, well we gotta look further. Notice it's the width of that prism here. So we're gonna keep looking. There it is. Right? So if this is 4 feet, that's 4 feet, that's 4 feet. So sometimes you have to find the missing pieces, but they're there. So 4 feet, that does not look like a 4. Let's try that again. 4 feet. So what do we got? Half of 12 is 6. 6 times 9 is 54. Times 4 gets me 216. Feet cubed. Yeah, this one's feet cubed as well, sorry. So your total volume is going to be 384 plus 216. So 384 plus 216 is 600 feet cubed. So do the shapes separately, right? Do the top, do the bottom, add them up. So we found our rectangular prism, we found our triangular prism, and we added them up to get 600. All right, let's try another one. How about this one? We'll get a little hemisphere in there. So we are, what did I say, round? They do say round, okay. So let's start with the rectangular. So the volume of my rectangular prism, again, is big B times H. Area of the base, my base is a rectangle, so the area of that rectangle is 8 times 12. The height is the distance between my bases, so from bottom to top is 8, so the height of my prism is 8. And then we type it in our calculator, 8 times 8 times 12. And we get 768 centimeters cubed. Whoops, I did not mean to box that in. Because that is not our answer. But I'll underline it and save it for later. Oh my goodness. There we go. Now, volume of a hemisphere. So we have to remember our volume of a sphere and then realize we want half of that. So volume of a sphere was 4/3 pi r cubed. So we have 4/3 pi. My radius is, I don't know. We'll understand it goes all the way across, which would be the same length, which is 8. So if this is 8, this is 8. My diameter is 8. So my diameter is 8, which means my radius is half of that, 4. So we got 4 cubed. All right, and it does say round, so I'm going to go ahead and type this in my calculator just the way it is. So I've got 4/3, so I've typed that in as 4 divided by 3 times pi, so times 3.14, and times 4 cubed, so times 4 times 4 times 4. And I got 267.94667. While that's in my calculator, don't round this yet. While it's in your calculator, go ahead and say half. So my hemisphere is going to be half of that. So my hemisphere, divide by 2, and we're going to go ahead and round that to the nearest 2 decimal places. So 133.97. And again, centimeters cubed. So there's my hemisphere. We found the sphere was the 267, but we only wanted half because that's all I see here. All right, and then we can add them up. So we've got 768 plus 133.97. I lost my calculator. Which gets us 901.97 centimeters cubed. All right, so you really have to focus on what are my formulas, which one am I using, and just be as precise as possible. So if you want your formulas, remember 2 bases, if it has 2 bases. So this is prisms and cylinders. ERS. We had 1 base. 1 base was pyramids and cones. And we had no bases, which was a sphere. Oops, I can't spell. Sphere. All right, so 2 bases, 1 base, no bases, that's a sphere. And those are the 3 formulas you're using, however you have to manipulate them sometimes. We'll try one more. How about we do cone? So let's do that hemisphere. So we'll do volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. So 4/3 pi, and our radius is 10 cubed. So I'm going to type that in my calculator. 4 divided by 3 times pi, 3.14, times 10 times 10 times 10. And we get 4,186.666.7, right? Again, we only want half of that. That's an entire sphere. So our hemisphere, we want half of that. So we're going to, while it's in our calculator, don't round yet. While it's in your calculator, divide by 2. And I get 2,093, and we're going to round to 2 decimal places, 0.33 centimeters cubed. We like centimeters today. All right, so that's my hemisphere, right? This whole sphere was the 4,000, but we only wanted half. And then we have a cone. Remember, a cone has 1 base. The cone has 1 base, so we're here, 1/3 area of the base times the height. So volume of the cone, oops, sorry about that. Volume of the cone is 1/3 area of the base times the height. Now, in a cone, remember your base is a circle. So if you're finding area of a circle, your formula is pi r squared times height. So area of the base, my base is a circle, area of a circle is pi r squared. And then we plug in 1/3 pi, my radius 10 times 10 squared, and my height from vertex straight down is 15. Let's do a little math. So to be honest, this one says round, so I'm going to go ahead and just type it. What do we have? So we have pi, 3.14, times 10 squared, so times 10 times 10, and times 15. And then 1/3 means we can divide by 3. Divide by 3. And I got 1,570. It actually wound up being nice. Didn't think it was going to be nice, but so again, all I did in my calculator was pi, 3.14, times 10 squared, so times 10 times 10, times 15. And then again, we want 1/3 of that, so we're going to divide by 3. Okay, so 1,570 centimeters cubed. So I have my hemisphere, I have my cone, now I just got to add them up. So 2,093.33 plus 1,570, 2,093.33 plus 1,570 is 3,663.33 centimeters cubed. And that is the one I want to box in because that is my final answer. Now, be super careful about rounding. You do not want to round until the very end. Okay, you do not want to round till the very end, which is why I said here when we were doing the hemisphere, we typed all this in, right? And we kept this in our calculator. Don't tell me it's 4186.7. Don't start rounding here because then you get rounded and then you multiply and it's rounded even more. So you want to round at the very as close to the end as possible, right? So here I kept that in my calculator and I said a hemisphere is just half. I went ahead and divided it in half in my calculator and then rounded. Okay, so wait till the very end to round. But you're going to go ahead and finish this up. Tell me if you have any issues. Again, just look at the shapes. Okay, look at the shapes you're dealing with. Number 2, it's a hemisphere and a hemisphere, so this is a whole sphere, right? You don't have to do them separately, just do a whole sphere. And then you have a cylinder in between, so do the cylinder as well. So again, look at the shapes. Tell me if you have any issues, but finish this up. Bye, guys.